You don't expect tragedy while making coffee, dropping the lights, or stepping out for a morning workout. Yet sometimes horror slips through the cracks of routine. One house, one door left unlocked, and an act of violence that would shake an entire community to its core. Tonight, we retrace the footsteps leading to the murder of Amanda Blackburn. Our journey takes us to Indianapolis, a city known for hospitality, tight-knit neighborhoods, and church pews filled every Sunday. More than 80% of its people identify as Christian. They call it the Crossroads of America because its highways crisscross the centers of Michigan, Illinois, Kentucky, and Ohio, a place where countless lives intersect, sometimes for reasons that defy explanation. At the core of this story stand two people who never imagined their names would belong in a criminal case file. Amanda Blackburn, just 28 years old, and her husband Davey, 30, seemed like a portrait of devotion. He was a young, energetic pastor, she, a worn and steady force beside him. To outsiders, they looked like the perfect example of kindness, faith, and promise. Their dream had pulled them from South Carolina to Indianapolis, chasing a shared mission to build a new church and share the gospel's power to change lives. They founded Resonate Church in 2011 on the north side of the city. Unlike many ministry leaders decades older, the Blackburns brought youth, energy, and a modern, relatable approach. Their message connected especially with young families. On screen and in person, they radiated positivity. Their story together went back to 2006, when Amanda and Davey met as students at Pensacola Christian College in Florida. Friends noticed their chemistry immediately. Amanda herself had grown up in a faith-driven household. She was born in summer 1987 in Michigan to Phil and Robin, a pastor and his wife. In the mid-1990s, the family moved to Elkhart, Indiana, raising Amanda and her siblings Amber and James within a community that valued compassion and discipline. She was gentle, thoughtful, and determined, top of her class, active in youth ministry, and close to her brother and sister. After graduating from Elkhart Christian Academy in 2006, she took the leap of leaving home for college in Florida. That's where she met Davey, charismatic, charming, quick to laugh, the kind of person who could light up a room with ease. They shared ambitions, faith, and curiosity. Their friendship deepened into love. Before long, they adopted a playful dog named Mel, treating him as a family member. Photos from those years radiate joy, beach walks, laughter, uncomplicated happiness. 2 years after meeting, the couple married in August 2008. In 2011, they moved north again, this time to Indianapolis, embracing their mission work. The move also let Amanda be near home again, and life soon became full of milestones. In 2014, their son Weston was born, and the couple blossomed into the kind of young family people looked up to. Davey thrived in his pastoral role. Amanda balanced motherhood with marathon training alongside her siblings. Both kept active, sharing fitness photos and Bible verses online. Their social media showed nothing but contented days filled with family, church, and love. Then in 2015, fresh excitement, another baby on the way, a daughter they'd already named Everett Evie Grace. Their future felt set, bright, and full. But that vision ended abruptly on the morning of November 10th, 2015. That day started as routine. Davey woke around 6 for his usual workout, the type of morning discipline that earns admiration and disbelief in equal measure. After training for about an hour, he drove home at roughly 7:30. Instead of coming inside immediately, he stayed in the car to take a phone call, wanting to let Amanda sleep. Small, considerate gesture, one he'd later wish fate had spared him from making. When he re-entered the house, everything that defined normal life broke apart. Amanda lay on the living room floor in a pool of blood. She was still breathing, but unresponsive. Upstairs, their toddler Weston was safe in his crib. Pieces of mail and credit cards lay scattered. A pack of Swisher cigars, earphones, and a roll of duct tape sat on the counter. Items that weren't theirs. Amanda's phone rested untouched in the bedroom. Mel, their dog, had been trapped inside, but thankfully unharmed. Blood spatter and damage to surfaces told a violent story. Amanda was found face down, unclothed, suggesting a struggle and a possible sexual assault. Electronic records added another clue. At 7:53 a.m., there was a missed call from Chase Bank warning of suspicious activity on her account. That meant whoever attacked her had tried to use her cards almost immediately. At first, the working theory was a burglary gone wrong, yet speculation swirled fast. Some even whispered the crime scene might have been staged. Others questioned why Davy wasn't home, or why his timeline fit so conveniently around the attack. But the follow-up investigation cleared those doubts. Davy's routines at the gym, his phone data, and his neighbors' accounts all matched perfectly. His hour-long workout schedule was consistent. If anyone had been casing the neighborhood, they could easily have known that window of time. Detectives soon concluded the attackers saw an opportunity. An unlocked door and a pastor's wife alone. Online, rumors refused to die. Because of other scandals involving pastors across the country, cynics lumped Davy into patterns he didn't belong in. Names of disgraced ministers circulated unfairly beside his. Yet the investigators stayed focused on evidence rather than noise. In the wake of Amanda's death, Davy spoke publicly, not to defend himself, but to keep attention on finding the killers. He appeared in interviews, built awareness through the church and on social media, trying to generate fresh leads. Ironically, that visibility inflamed conspiracy theories. Some online critics even dissected his tone in interviews, calling it too calm. They cited a rumored 12-minute delay before calling emergency services, details that turned into myths repeated by people who'd never met him. Through it all, family and close friends defended him fiercely. Eventually, detectives eliminated any theory involving him and turned back to the crime scene's facts. The evidence began revealing a pattern. Amanda's home wasn't the only one hit that morning. It was one of 3 burglaries in the area that same day, and several similar break-ins had struck the neighborhood earlier that month. This wasn't personal. It was a crime pattern that ended in tragedy. Just 1 week prior, a woman nearby had been assaulted in her shower by masked men during a break-in. They stole jewelry, electronics, and cash, the same kind of high-value items missing from the Blackburn home. The repeat similarities told investigators they were dealing with a small crew of serial burglars who had grown reckless. At Amanda's house, however, the intruders barely took anything: a credit card and a laptop. It looked like something or someone had interrupted them mid-crime. Neighbors teamed up to help. Several provided footage from security cameras. One woman recalled hearing 2 sharp pops around 6:30 a.m. She thought they were car backfires. Others spoke of a hooded figure pacing outside his phone before climbing into a silver Chrysler Sebring parked up the street. Footage confirmed the sighting. That Chrysler, it turned out, had been stolen at 5:23 a.m. the same morning. Footage from yet another home showed 3 men breaking in earlier that dawn, stealing the car along with laptops, purses, and cash. As police followed the trail, it all connected: the stolen Sebring, the attempted ATM withdrawal from Amanda's card, and the cascade of burglaries all linked within hours. Even more chilling, after Amanda was killed, the trio kept going. Around 8:30 a.m., another burglary was reported. Same suspects, same silver car. Surveillance caught them carrying out televisions, jewelry, computers, wine bottles, even a bag of oranges. They moved with a disturbing casualness, as though murder were just another item on their morning schedule. When police recovered the abandoned Chrysler the next day, the clues inside it were a gold mine, an oversized sweater, a half-empty bag of oranges, a pink shirt, a universal remote, and the incriminating ATM receipt from the failed $500 withdrawal. The killer had clearly tried to hide his face with that pink shirt and forgotten it in the car. DNA on the fabric led straight to 21-year-old Jalen Watson, a man recently released on parole for burglary. Tracking his phone data brought up another name, Deano Gordon, an associate also under supervision. Calls between their phones and a third number that night led to 18-year-old Larry Taylor Jr. Cell tower mapping placed all three at the break-ins and at Amanda's home. Their landlord later confirmed they'd left the house around 3:30 a.m., carrying her boyfriend's gun and a shirt, both later tied to the crime scene. Investigators now knew exactly who they were looking for. 11 days after Amanda's murder, police arrested Larry Taylor Jr. for murder, burglary, and robbery. Soon after, Watson and Gordon were taken into custody. Once behind bars, loyalty vanished. Gordon cracked first, describing every detail in a plea deal exchange. He said the three had planned a string of burglaries that morning. And it was Larry who insisted on bringing a gun. Inside the Blackburn home, Gordon said, Larry entered Amanda's bedroom intending to subdue her. But when she resisted, things spiraled. The others left to try Amanda's card at an ATM, while Larry stayed behind, speaking to them by phone throughout. When the PIN failed and they couldn't pull cash, Larry ended the call. Moments later, he assaulted Amanda and fired 3 shots before she collapsed. He then phoned his partners to pick him up. Nearby surveillance recorded the pickup as it happened. Gordon recounted that Larry was disturbingly proud, even describing the violence with indifference as they planned their next target. Based on that testimony and overwhelming physical evidence, prosecutors added counts: burglary, robbery causing serious injury, unlawful confinement, auto theft, firearm possession without a license, and 2 murder charges. One charge covered Amanda's killing. The second related to another earlier homicide the same gun had been used in. The unborn baby's death, however, could not be included because of state law limitations. Both accomplices agreed to testify against Larry. With their cooperation, his conviction became inevitable. Still, the legal process dragged on painfully. Multiple mistrials followed after jurors learned details about Amanda's pregnancy that technically weren't admissible because no charge addressed the unborn child. Eventually, the case moved to a bench trial, heard by a judge only. That judge found Larry Taylor guilty on all counts and handed down an 86-year sentence, effectively life in prison. Trials for Watson and Gordon concluded years later in 2021 and 2022. Each received roughly 30-year sentences under plea arrangements, portions suspended if they fulfilled testimony agreements. Amanda's family had waited nearly 7 years to hear final verdicts. For Davy, that waiting came with waves of anger, sorrow, and disbelief. In interviews, he later admitted struggling to control hatred toward the men who took everything from him. Over time, his faith softened that rage. He said forgiveness was the only path that brought any relief. Less than a year after Amanda's death, Davy found companionship again and remarried. News that divided public opinion. Some saw it as moving forward. Others felt it was too soon. But grief has no timetable, and those closest to him testified that Amanda would have wanted her husband and son to find light again. No shred of evidence ever linked him to the crime. Even the convicted men never implicated him in any way. In later writings, Davy reflected on Amanda with quiet eloquence. He described her as the most selfless person he had ever known, someone who lived entirely for others, who never chased spotlight or praise. Her friends echoed the same sentiment. Anyone who met her felt loved. Though the case is officially closed, traces of suspicion linger in the corners of the internet, as sensational cases often do. But for those who know the truth, what remains is the story of a young woman whose faith and kindness touched thousands, and whose death reminded a community how fragile safety can be. Home is supposed to shelter us from the world's storms. Yet sometimes, the storm finds its way in. Amanda's life and loss both whisper the same warning. Evil often waits at unlocked doors. If this case gripped you, take a moment to subscribe to Crimestreak for more deep dives into real-life crime stories. Until next time, stay cautious, stay aware, and stay on the Crimestreak.